Yeah, yeah. So today we're going to be looking at the virtual labs for Module 4. And the first one we're going to look at is assigning IP addresses manually. So let's go ahead and go there. Okay, the tasks to install an IP address, subnet, and gateway on a PC, and then configure a router gateway with an IP address, subnet mask, etc. And what you get there is from Canvas. Click on the button at the bottom. Zybooks will open to the appropriate place. So, learning objectives, we just looked at them. The background, IPv4 is what this lab covers. Used a level 4 of the OSI models, layer 4, pardon me, level 4 of the OSI model. That's where IP addresses live. And the subnet mask defines the range of hosts available within a network. It identifies the network in the first part of the address. The second part of the subnet mask address identifies how many hosts are available. 3 tasks: set a name, IP address, subnet mask, and a gateway address for the PC. Set the switch name, and then set a router IP address. And we'll be using GNSO1. And as usual, you'll notice the little block shield down here. That is where the points add up. Eventually you'll get there. So let's go through. Page 2, assigning IP addresses manually. This is a walkthrough lab, so it's just basically going through NetLab 7200. You're going to open that project. And then GNS, that's a switch. And click play to start the lab devices. And you're just going to follow the directions. As you do, the points will add up here. As you're going along, hit these check completion buttons, and that will connect, or that will subtotal all your points for you. So you're going to go through here, set the IP address to that, and just follow the instructions. You'll notice that points add up here as you're checking completion. And then set the switch name. You're going to give the switch a name and click apply. You're going to name it lab switch. Make sure that you follow the instructions carefully and give names and the IP addresses what they should be. Check check completion. You'll be adding numbers in here and numbers down here as well. Number 4, then set a router address. Now you're going to open up R1, which is a router's web console. Set the router's IP address. And that will allow you to set the IP address using config space T. Interface fast Ethernet 00. You're setting the interface that's going to be using and the port. Set the IP address for that interface and then shut down, no shut. Exit the interface and then exit the terminal. So you need to type exit twice. Save the configuration. And once again, the points will add up. And then that should complete the lab. Once you click on that, it will check connectivity, and that should be all it takes. All right, let's go ahead and look at a MAC address and IP address. And basically, this is another walkthrough. So the objectives are configure a PC's IP, subnet, and default gateway like we just did, and then configure a router's IP, and then use ARP to resolve a PC's MAC address to the PC's IP address. So you're going to connect the MAC address and the IP address in the ARP table. Background, a device ID is controlled by the manufacturer. Remember we talked about the MAC address. The first half of it is the manufacturer's identity for that particular piece of equipment. The last half is the individual piece of equipment. Every network interface controller has a unique MAC address, just like every network device has a unique network address. Task 1, configure the PC name, IP, subnet mask, etc. Task 2, configure router IP and subnet mask. And finally, task 3, edit the ARP table for address resolution. You're going to be using ZyWin, that's the Windows PC, and the switch, GNSO1. Assigning, let's see. Select the switch from the drop down and click connect to VMs, which will be here. You're going to click NetLab 7200. That opens up the switch interface. Click play to start the lab devices. And when the device starts, the red box next to the device's name turns green. Basically what this is an application that allows you to build virtual networks, and you can put routers and switches and PCs in them, and they will connect and they will behave just like you expect them to. Rename the PC and then follow the instructions. Remember to hit the check completion button. The numbers will add up, and they'll add up down here. You're going to go through all the instructions until you reach the end. Go on to page 3. Same thing. You're going to open up the router and add the IP address, and you're going to shut it down, or shut down the programming interface. Then you're going to exit that mode. Then you're going to exit configuration mode. And then you're going to copy the configuration into run mode. And once again, you're checking points as you go. Points are adding up down here. And then finally, you're going to assign a MAC IP, use the ARP table. So we're going to do address resolution protocol. We're going to edit that so that we can assign particularly this IP address to that MAC address. Follow the instructions. You're going to show the ARP table. And then you're going to connect to the Windows PC. Open up PowerShell, IP config to find out the IP information. You're going to ping the gateway of the router. Remember, you're checking completion as you go. List all the devices in the ARP table, ARP space -A. There's a space in there, by the way. And then once again, checking completion, you should be able to, once you've completed the ARP command, you should be able to check completion. And at that point, you should have number 20 in this shield. Okay, then we're going to move on to assigning IP addresses manually. This is a scenario. So the scenario is ABC Tech is a small 4-person startup and 4 computers connected to switches. Instead of implementing BHCP, they decided to manually assign IPs. The company decided to assign it from the network 192.168.1.0 to 24. Basically what that allows is, this is a different notation, but it tells you what the subnet mask, in this case, the subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. So you're going to configure the IP addresses on all the PCs, configure the subnet mask, and that's the actual meat of the lab, is figuring out this notation for subnet masks. Configure address, gateway address, which is just the router address. So these are the these are the tasks, pardon me. Check completion as you go. And remember I said 255.255.255.0. That's what this /24 means. And you're going to go all the way through it. You're still, once you've completed that, then we're going to configure a router. That's going to be the next one. You should have 20 points in here. I think each one of these labs is 20 points. Okay, so another scenario from ABC Tech. 4 computers connected to 2 switches, and they're connected to a router. The router's outside interface is set up to the ISP, and the tech needs to configure the internal port of the router to allow internal PCs to access the internet. So directives, number 1 is configure IP address, subnets, etc. PC1, and directive number 2 is configure IP address, subnet mask of router R1. Interface, that's a network interface 00. To start, select the switch from the drop-down, connect to it, select lab, click NetLab 7200 to open the project, and then click play to start the lab devices. I'm going to set up the PC and check completion, set up the router and check completion, and that should account for all the virtual labs in this module, in Module 4. All right, guys, that is Module 4 Virtual Labs. Don't forget, if you have questions, contact me via the Canvas inbox or ask me in class, and I will do my best to help. Until then, have a good day.